Record button to go. Cool. Hello, everyone. I'm Kaylee Olson, the editor of LPM. I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. We'll be talking about phishing in law firms, how to identify threats and act now. It's being presented by Quiss. This issue is probably even more so important to get right, especially as people are working more digitally. How law firms can stay more secure, and phishing, no doubt, is still high on that list. So I'm going to hand it over to Javed Malik, who's a security awareness advocate at KnowBe4, who's a world leader in security awareness and training. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Javed. Everyone, if you could please mute yourselves, just so that we don't have any feedback. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll go to questions at the end of the webinar. Javed, why don't you start us off?
Cool. Thank you very much, Hayley, and thank you everyone for joining this webinar with us today. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. This is my attempt at a witty, legal, relevant slide title, but we'll gloss over that. KnowBe4, we are one of the largest, we are the largest security training and awareness platform out there in the market. That's my vanity slide, but I'm sure you can read up on that later if you're really interested. So phishing, as most people are aware, phishing is a type of social engineering, a type of scam, confidence scam. And it's mainly like through emails, although we do see a lot of SMS messages coming through nowadays as well, and even some phone calls or voicemails. But typically it's your email that comes through, and they've been around for a long time. It's like, whatever, click here and you'll get some money, and you click on there and you get some malware, or they get access to your systems or files or any number of things. There are lots of variations, so you might have heard of things such as BC, like business email compromise, spear phishing, whaling, CEO fraud, exec fraud, all those kinds of things, and these are all just different types of phishing. So what's the big deal about phishing? And actually, when you go through the number of breaches that occur, the vast majority, there's a stat I pulled out and it says 90%. So it might be a bit more, it might be a bit less, but there's no disputing the fact that the vast majority of actual breaches take place because of phishing, or the phishing is one of the initial root cause vectors through which the bad guys get in. So it's a massive area to overlook. If companies don't focus on this, then you are leaving your front door wide open for bad guys to get in. And in this thing, it's like a lot of security. We preach about defense in depth. Technical controls on their own aren't enough. Like the ISP or email providers will do some part, your gateway controls will do some part, but the human factor is an essential component, because when an email does reach the inbox, you want the users to take the right action. Verizon publish a report every year, a data breach report that sort of like validates the fact that phishing is by far the #1 way that bad guys try to break in. Examples which many of you have probably seen, or you know a colleague that's seen it. You get something like this. It's a Word document in an email. It's like here are the bonus figures or something enticing like that. And when you open it, it's like, hey, enable content. And as soon as you hit that enable content, it's pretty much game over. You might get social media type emails, like someone wants to join your network on LinkedIn, or something like this, like click here to confirm your email address, and that link takes you to a dodgy site. So maybe that will be like, enter your username and password here to log in, and you do it, and now the bad guys have got access to your account. If you look at the actual where it's come from in the email, you can see it's not actually linked in. In a home environment, maybe you've seen something like Netflix or something like that come through, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't want this to be cancelled, especially during this time of lockdown. So let's just click there and make sure my account is valid, and you re-enter your payment card details, and that's that gone. BC and CEO fraud. This is where the bad guys actually take some time to research your company. So they'll look on LinkedIn primarily. They'll see who your boss is, who your CEO is, the reporting lines, and they'll then try to impersonate your brand and they'll send you an email purporting to be from one of your execs and say, hey, I need you to do something. And the real danger of these emails is that there's no actual malicious link in these. Typically, there's no malicious document. There's nothing there. It's normally a request. So your technical controls have got nothing to scan against. There's no virus to pick up, so to speak. So it will land in the user's inbox. And if they're not careful, if they don't notice that it's not the actual work email address or the email belonging to a colleague, they will reply, and then the next request is normally, hey, can you transfer money to a new partner or something like that. Here's another example. It's health foods with two O's instead of zeros instead of zeros instead of O's. Even us at KnowBe4, Stu's our CEO. Alana was appointed a few years ago as a director of operations. And within a few weeks, she was getting emails purporting to be from Stu, which they weren't, saying, can you send us a list of your employee tax records and what have you. Thankfully, being a security awareness company, we actually train all our new employees as soon as we onboard them. So she picked it up and we didn't send it out. So a lot of these phishing emails, they rely on manipulating emotions, so greed, urgency, curiosity. And you'll see this as you see, or if you're exposed to any kind of phishing emails, you'll see that it will try to scare you into something, or it will try to push you into taking action. And at the moment, we've got coronavirus outbreak around the world, which has made it very difficult, and it's created a lot of anxiety amongst people. And what we've seen is this almost vertical rise in the number of COVID-19 based phishing templates. So these can be things like, here's a new cure from the WHO, and click here and you'll find out, or how many people are infected in your area, that's curiosity, and you'll click there. So there's all these things coming out. It could be something from HR, it could be something from one of your partners, like saying, hey, our staff have been infected, if you've been in any contact with any of our things or whatever you. So these are really, really out there, and they're also proving to be very, very effective. The quarter one, like in the wild attacks, you can see like the first three are all COVID-19, and then it's followed by working from home. So, hey, it's your IT team, there's a new VPN connection you need. Social media in Q1 this year, LinkedIn dominates, because from a work perspective, most people have a LinkedIn account compared to other things. These are some of the top email subjects. Password check is quite a popular one, because it will take you to a page, for whatever page it is, and they get you to re-enter your password, and so they grab your credentials, and then they can access all your systems, all your files. And this is also really popular. It's not just for you, but they might attack one of your partners or someone in the supply chain in this method, and then use their access to break into your systems and exfiltrate data. The NCSC has this really good layered defense model, which I'm a big fan of. And this goes to that defense in depth. So layer one, make it difficult for the bad guys to get in. Layer two, help your users to identify and report those phishing emails. Three is protect your organization against the effects of those phishing emails. And four is to resolve incidents. Oops, sorry, if you're on the line, could you mute yourself, please? And bless you. Where we KnowBe4 operate, we are solely in that layer two area. So we help train the users to help them identify and report the phishing emails. And this is an area we believe is one of the most underserved areas on the market. It's a lot easier to go out and buy a product, I think, and justify the ROI. But training users and helping them make better security decisions is a more longer term thing, and something that we feel like we excel in. And there's a few things we can go into what makes a good awareness campaign, and how you can actually get people to change their behaviors to identify and report it. And one of the things is, I think a lot of people, like, I mean, I myself have been working in the industry for about 20 years, and I remember initially, like, 15 odd years ago running security awareness campaigns in companies, and it was all about getting the information out. But security awareness and changing people's behaviors are not the same thing. Quote that I really like is, just because I'm aware, it doesn't mean I care. That's equivalent of, like, if you're driving down the road and you see a sign that says 30 miles per hour, well, you're now aware that the speed limit is 30 miles per hour. But does that necessarily translate into you changing your behavior? Well, maybe yes. I mean, if I think back to 20-year-old me, probably not. It was just a suggestion at the best of times. Mike Tyson, I love this quote of Mike Tyson, that everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And, it's really easy to theorize or to just tell people that, you can don't click on the link, or don't do this, or don't do that. And you can feed them that information. But until you actually get them to see it and practice it through a simulated phishing exercise, they're not going to get used to it. So when a phishing email does land, they're not really going to reply or respond in the way that you need them to, or would like them to. So for this, we need to embed the security culture within the organization. So the IT team, or the security part of the IT team, is normally a very small aspect of the entire organization. And we want to find ways of how we can embed it within the organization, so security permeates throughout the company, and it's maintained in a sustainable manner. One thing, especially like going back to my days as a practitioner, like as technologists, we're often quite focused on the technical detail. And so I was like, well, is it important what the people know or how they behave? So behavior is really the key thing. And behaviors are one of those things. You can't change all of behaviors. You can't expect everyone to become an expert overnight, but you can focus on 2 to 3 behaviors over 6 or 12 months, change those, and then move on to the next set. Nudges are a really good mechanism that marketing uses. So it's just to help push people in the right direction, but while maintaining their choice architecture. So when you go to throw something away in the bin, there's landfill, there's recycling. You're just helping them, nudging them at that point where they're going to throw away something anyway. You're saying, hey, wouldn't it be better if you just split it out? You're only going to take a second. And then to help further, you've got the nice picture of, like, the recycling is all pristine and clean and nice, and people feel like, hey, I'm helping the environment here, and landfill is a dirty, grubby old landfill picture. So it just nudges people at the time that they're about to take action to do the right thing. The password meter is another thing, where technically you're not forcing people to choose a really long password, but what you're saying is, if they choose a short password or a weak password, it's like, hey, that's not great. And people want that that feedback loop. They want, hey, I want me to be a better password. So if they increase the length of the password and they get a smiley face or a star, or it says that's a fantastic password, then that usually works to help nudge a lot of people in the right direction. Growing up in the 80s, I remember this campaign, the Clunk Link, for seatbelts in cars, and that was just like a really effective campaign, because it was consistent throughout. So whether you saw it on the TV, whether you heard it on the radio, whether you saw it on a poster, it was consistent. It was Clunk Link, even on the shortest trip. And that happened for a long time, and then it was reinforced. And now we've got to the point where it's not really fathomable for anyone to actually get in and not put on the seatbelt in the most cases. Maybe the car will sort of nudge you a bit by having a little ding go off if you start driving without your seatbelt on, but it doesn't stop you from actually driving. But people just instinctively get in. Like, I know my kids, they get in and they'll just put on the seatbelt. You don't even have to ask them anymore. And maybe they don't even know why they're putting on the seatbelt, but the behavior is such that they're conditioned now that they will put on the seatbelt. And ultimately, that's what we want to try and get to in a security aspect. And the way we go about that is, like, you build a security campaign in the same way that you build a marketing campaign. And I appreciate this is a slightly busy slide, but it is very simple. You have your automated phishing and social engineering testing along the top, and that's a consistent thing. So on a monthly basis, say, for example, you're sending out phishing emails to test your employees. And then underneath it is all the learning. So that's supported by executives giving out a message, your learning modules, your your signage, your newsletters, and everything. And what you do every quarter or every 2 quarters, you're pushing like 1 or 2 behaviors that you try and push. So maybe this immediate quarter, you might be saying, watch out for COVID-19 phishing templates. And that's one of your key behaviors. And the second one could be watch out for LinkedIn phishing emails. So you just focus on those for the whole quarter, and you consistently test those. And so, well, you can do that, but how are we confident that that actually delivers result? And one of the key things is the phish prone percentage. So phish prone percentage is basically, if you send out a phishing email to all of your employees, it's the average percentage of people that are likely to click on that link and fall for it. So if you were to send out a phishing email today in your organization, how many do you think would actually fall for that phishing email? How many would say, no, that looks dodgy and not click it? Or how many would actually report it to your IT team? What we done, we looked at a large, about 17,000 of our clients, and we pulled out that data anonymously. And what we see is that if you're a small company and you send out a blanket phishing email, in small companies like under 250, if you're in the healthcare sort of sector, about 45% of your employees, nearly half, will click on that phishing email. And that's a huge percentage. In the medium size industry, it's construction, and in large, it's technology. And so these are the top 3 industries by company size where people will click. But the others aren't that far off. If you look at in the UK and Ireland overall, when you send out that initial email, phishing email, without any training on your employees, about 27% of them will click on that. That's just aggregated across all of our UK customers and what we've seen around the world. Now, if you send out that initial email and you say, well, how many people click on it? And that would be about 27%. And then after that, you start an awareness campaign. So you offer them that executive messages, you offer the learning modules, you put up some digital signage, what have you. And then you repeat that test after 90 days. That will go from an average of 27% down to 14%. And then if you carry that on for a year, that will drop down to under 5% on average. So you're going from 27% all the way down to 5% in the course of a year. And this has been repeated. This is like throughout the world, we've seen very similar stats whenever we've measured this. The way I put it, it's a bit like working out every day and cutting out bad stuff from your diet. After a period of time, it's impossible not to see a change in your health. The legal sector, which is probably what you're most interested in, the baseline is in small companies under 250 is considerably higher. So if you're a small legal firm, about a third, like 34.1% will fall for that phishing link. If you're a medium-sized company, that initial untrained phishing campaign over a quarter, and similar for large companies. So that's a high percentage. So at least a quarter up to a third, if you send out your phishing email today, are likely to click on that. But again, if you follow it through with a good campaign, integrated campaign of phishing and training, after 90 days that will drop down to 14%, and after a year that again will be below 5%. This is the global figures. So if you round up all 17,000 customers and 4 million users, the average is about 38%, 14%, and 5%. One thing we strongly believe in is having good content that actually makes people, that actually engages people, that makes them understand those messages that you're trying to pass out. So one of the things, assets we have in our store is this series called The Inside Man. And it's very much like a Netflix series. It's produced by this company that we acquired just last year called Twist and Shout, who are based up in Leicester. And one of the things we do, we actually acquire local companies around the world so that they can create local content so that it's relevant. I'm sure, like in the past, you must have seen something. It's like seeing a American created content that's been dubbed or translated for international markets. It just doesn't work very well. So what we try to do is like, so we use like local companies like Twist and Shout in the UK to create content that is UK relevant. It's got UK humor and UK characters, and you know we speak properly and spells properly. But The Inside Man is like a series. It's like a Netflix series, really short episodes, like 4 or 5 minutes long, about 10 of them in a season, and it follows the drama of the character in the front. He's a mole within a company. He's the inside man, and he's trying to like steal some data. And so it's a really gripping drama. It's really enjoyable. But at the end of it, there's a really quick like security learning saying, hey, did you see when that character plugged in that USB drive? They shouldn't have done that. Or did you see it when they held the door open for a stranger to walk in without a pass? That they shouldn't do that. So it's all these sorts of learnings throughout the episode. So people actually really enjoy these shows. It's the only time I've ever seen that people have got in touch and say, hey, when's the next season coming out? Or it wasn't mandatory, but everyone just hired out the conference room and we binge watched the entire season over lunch, which is a fantastic sort of bit of feedback to get. But I suppose the point is that it depends on the company culture you have and how you're going about it. I mean, there's different types of content for different types of. So there's shorter content. There's like those animated PowerPoint type things. There's longer form sort of live action and what have you. But there's something in there for everyone, and find the right content that actually resonates with your staff and seeks to help change their behavior and not just make them aware. So with that, happy to take any questions. If you have any like sort of like account-based questions or something like that, you can also get in touch with Nick at Kiss. But other than that, I'm happy to take any questions on this and discuss any more. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Javed. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll pick from there, or you can unmute yourselves now. The usual crickets as people start thinking questions. I'll start us off with one question. As people find themselves managing teams remotely now, what are your top tips for how to keep up that security awareness? And has that even changed from when people were in office?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something we've been getting a lot of lately as well. I think on one hand, don't slow down your campaign. I think it's still equally as important to let people know, because what we've seen is a lot of bad, as we can see from the top phishing sort of headlines from Q1, a lot of people are exploiting the COVID-19 pandemic, and also there's a lot of like those IT related ones sneaking in. So, hey, this is your IT team, here's a new VPN, click here to install it. And that could be a bad guy owned VPN that they're now seeing all your traffic or what have you. So understand, I think as part of that, it's important to communicate clearly with all employees what your communication channels are going to be and what they should expect and not expect, and then deliver the appropriate kind of content for them to consume. That's not just maybe specific to your corporate environment, but also better home security as well. So we have like home courses as well. So it's something the whole family can sit and watch, choosing better passwords, securing your router, all that kind of good stuff. So I think it's even more important now to just keep people in the loop, make them aware, and help them adopt good practices.
Thank you very much. We've got a question here from Martin Wells. He says, do you think most businesses have properly considered data protection issues in the rush to disperse their workforces? And can we expect the ICO to turn a sympathetic blind eye or expect a barrage of GDPR fines?
I think this is such a critical issue, because there is definitely been a rush, and a lot of companies have been unprepared for. I mean, I don't think any company has been prepared fully to have 100% of their workforce work remotely immediately. So in the sake of enabling that, there have been a lot of companies have taken some shortcuts. So they've relaxed some measures So I was speaking to a company not too long ago, and they actually disabled two-factor authentication, to log on to some of the systems because they just didn't have the capacity to roll that out to all their staff and support them during this time. And they just wanted everyone to be able to log in without any fuss and not have like hundreds of tickets to come back to every day. And what I think what this is it's a level of technical debt that companies will accrue over this period of time. Now, unless they actually document everything and they have a plan of reverting back once things settle down, then I think it's going to be really difficult to justify to regulate. I mean, I don't know how the regulators are going to react, but a lot of what GDPR is about is, you know, do you have justification for the actions or why you took, and what are your plans to recover it, and is it with the best of intentions? And so I think that there is room for leniency there from GDPR in the event that you're breached, but I think it's useful to have a plan. So okay, yeah, we relax some measures to get everything out there and get everything working, but then there should be a plan to bring everything back up to the level of security that you actually need.
Mm-hmm. Any further questions? Feel free to unmute or type in the chat. Cool, I think we'll leave it there. If anyone has any further questions that they think of after this webinar, feel free to get in touch with Javad and Quiss and or us at LPM. We'd be happy to pass you along. Thank you so much. And I believe we'll be making recording this and the slides available after this webinar, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you very much.